Welcome to Liesel's Artistic Studio. Today, I'm excited to show you how to paint this easy, pretty winter landscape. Not only is this painting easy to do, but the awesome part is that it is painted using only one color of paint. So let's get started, and don't forget to like and subscribe. For supplies today, we need watercolor paper. I'm choosing to do mine landscape style, so it's going to be a little longer and skinnier than I normally do. This is cut to the size 12 by 7 inch, and then I've used some artist tape to tape it down to my table to help keep it from warping or moving while I paint the wash background. Next, I have a little scrap piece of paper for testing some colors on, and 2 brushes today. Here is a 3/4 inch flat brush to paint the background wash with, and here is a number 6 round brush for the detail work. Then I have a pencil, some clean water, a paper towel, and watercolor paints. Now today I am doing a monochromatic painting, which means I'll only be using one color with different values for the entire painting. I'm choosing to do this painting using Paynes gray, but you could try any color you like. A dark blue or a dark brown might turn out really nice as well. Now, you're the artist here though, so you can decide. For my final supply, I have watercolor masking fluid. Now, you don't have to have this to do this painting, but it definitely will make it easier. Now, if you need any of the detail information about any of these supplies, you can find that by clicking on the description of this video. So to get this painting started, let's do a really quick, simple sketch, just so we know where things are going to be placed on our painting. First, draw a horizon line on your page, and this does not have to be perfectly straight. Mine is about 1 inch below the halfway point on the paper. There will be a distant row of pine trees along this horizon line in the background that I'm not going to draw in, but we will have some quakey or aspen trees that will be our focal point for this painting that I am going to lightly sketch in. At this point, I am really penciling in the main trunks of the tree. I'm not worrying about all the little branches right now. These aspens will be fairly straight, but I might make a couple of the trunks a little tilted to add some interest, and I'm drawing a few of them with a split Y-shaped trunk as well. Next, I'm going to draw some wooden log fence posts in the foreground. Now, I am choosing to have a break in my fence and not put the fence or fence posts in front of my aspen trees because I don't want the post to become the focal point in my picture instead of the aspen trees. But, as I've said before, you're the artist for your painting and you can do whatever you want. Then I'll just quickly erase the horizon lines that are running through my tree trunks. Now it's time for the masking fluid if you have it and want to use it. For this fluid, you may want to use an older brush rather than a favorite or new brush because the fluid can on occasion get stuck in the bristles and ruin a brush. But if you rub a little bit of dish soap in the bristles before you start to paint, it can help you clean out your brush better when you're done. So with this masking fluid, paint the trunks of all of the aspen trees, then let it dry completely before you start applying any watercolor paint. After the masking fluid is completely dry, wet your large flat brush and using water and Paynes gray, make a nice light gray color for the background wash. If you need to, test out your color on the scrap piece of paper until you get it the shade you want. Then rinse your brush off and using that large brush, paint your entire page with water. If you have not used masking fluid on your trees, you will want to paint the water around and in between them. Next, take your light gray color and start applying that to your page. I am going to paint starting at the top of the page, moving down to the horizon line. Then I'm going to make sure that there's good color right around my trees so that when I peel the masking fluid off of them, the white color of the tree is going to stand out more. And lastly, I'll paint from the bottom of the page upward, letting the color fade out as I move up to give it a little more appearance of snow. If you need to, you can apply more water to the page as you paint to help the color fade out more. Then when the background is done, let it dry completely. And for a tip, if you want to speed up the drying process, you can blow it dry with a hairdryer. Now let's mix a gray color for the background pine trees. I want this gray to be darker than the gray wash we just did, but this should not be the darkest value on the page. We need to save the darkest color for the aspen trees and fence posts. So again, check your color on the scrap piece of paper until you feel it's right. If the color seems too dark, add some more water to it. If it seems too light, add some more pigment. When you've mixed the color you like, then take your large brush once again and apply some water just above the horizon line. This water will help fade out the bottoms of the pine trees so they're not too detailed, and it will make them appear farther away. Then when you're ready to start painting the pine trees, use your smaller brush and start painting the treetops above that wet area, moving the branches downward, small to large, into the wet until they reach the horizon line. The goal here is to have the treetops a little more defined and crisp, and then let it fade out and blend into the other trees for the bottom half. Now really quick, after the pine trees are painted, take the wet tip of your brush and rub it at the base of the trees to soften any harsh lines that were created. Then use your paper towel to dab it dry. Alright, while the pine trees finish drying, let's move on to the fence posts. So let's darken up the value of our color even more so that the fence posts are darker than the background pine trees. Then when you're happy with the value, go ahead and paint the fence posts. Now wash and dry your brush off and use this damp brush to rub the bases of the fence posts. What we're trying to do here is soften the bottom and then spread some of the color to both sides of the base to make it look like the posts are embedded in the snow. Next, let's paint some thin wire lines between some of these fence posts. So I'll show you a way to help make some nice thin lines. Get some color on your brush, then take your brush and roll the tip of it onto your paper towel. This takes off any excess water and paint and also sharpens up the tip of your paintbrush. Then using just the tip, make your squiggly lines to connect the posts together. It's finally time to work on our aspen trees, so go ahead and rub off the masking fluid with your finger or an eraser. Now I'm going to take some water and thin down just a little section of this paint to make a light gray again. Then I'm going to use that light gray color to paint just the right side of each one of my trunks to give them a bit of dimension. Next, take some of that dark gray and start painting some marks on the trunks of the trees. The majority of the marks I'm painting are placed on the right side of the trunk, with a few here and there on the left side or even in the middle. I'm also putting more marks near the base of the trees. Now we'll soften the base of the trees like we did with the fence posts and slightly stretch the color out onto the snow. Okay, we're ready for the finishing touches on our birch trees by adding the darkest value of paint. So take some almost pure Paynes gray with just a touch of water, go back into the marks on the tree, and add a few super dark areas right on top. I'm only doing a few of these, mind you, and they are all going on the right side of the trunks. Now let's add a few branches stemming from the trees using that same darkest color. If you want to, you can even add some little branches or tiny trees around the base of these trees for some extra detail. Now for the very last thing to add to this painting, which in my opinion really makes the painting come to life, are some shadows. So for our color, we want a similar shade as the background pine trees, a medium light value. Then add some strips of color spreading out from the base of the fence posts as well as the aspen trees. You'll notice that I use my paper towel here to dab out some of the color on the ends to soften the shadows just a little bit. Also, try to make your shadows all point in the same direction. The last thing to do is carefully peel your artist tape off to avoid ripping your painting, and here you have a beautiful monochromatic winter scene. I hope you had some fun today and maybe even learned something new. If you enjoyed this tutorial, please consider subscribing to my channel so I can continue to help you discover your artistic side.